Hello there. It's good to have you here, in this quiet place for the night. Tonight's story follows a medieval rat catcher through the city's shadowed alleyways, a despised outcast who wages a silent, lonely war against the filth and disease that everyone else fears. This is a story grounded in a real and necessary profession. As always, you are welcome to let go of the day and drift off to sleep whenever you feel ready. As the last light bleeds from the sky, the city you know begins to disappear. The daytime city of shouting merchants, clanging blacksmiths, and gossiping neighbors bolts its heavy wooden doors, slides thick bars into place, and extinguishes its candles. The open for business sign is flipped to closed for fear of what comes next. A sudden, heavy silence falls over the main thoroughfares, a quiet that feels deeper than peace. It feels like a held breath. But as that respectable, sunlit city goes to sleep, your city, the real city, awakens. This is your kingdom, a kingdom of shadows, of refuse-choked gutters, and of the quiet, secret life that thrives in the city's forgotten corners. You navigate it not by sight, but by sound and smell. You don't need a map or a street sign. You navigate by the unique aroma of the baker's alley versus the fishmonger's drain. You know every loose cobblestone that might trip you, every overflowing midden heap where your prey might feast, every dark alcove where secrets are whispered and refuse is dumped. You are not a citizen of the sunlit world of commerce and prayer. You are the sole sovereign of this nocturnal realm. You are not entirely alone in this darkness. You might see the flicker of the night watchman's lantern as he makes his lonely rounds. A man paid to pretend there is order here. You might hear the drunken singing of a man stumbling home from the tavern, or see the huddled shapes of the city's homeless seeking shelter in a doorway. But they are not your concern. Your attention is lower, focused on the rustling sounds from the piles of refuse, the true, teeming populace of the night city. Your subjects are about to emerge, and the hunt is about to begin. You do not hunt a single animal. You wage war against a sprawling hidden empire that thrives in the city's decay. The rats are the true citizens of the night, a parallel civilization that lives within the walls, under the floors, and in the sewers of the human world. They don't pay taxes, but they hold more territory than the local lord, and their population grows with a speed that defies belief. This is not a hunt. It is a campaign of containment against an enemy that outnumbers the human residents 10 to 1. They are clever, silent, and they are always, always hungry. To a common person, a rat is more than a pest. It is a living symbol of famine. A single one in a granary is a thief, stealing bread from a child's mouth. A dozen is a disaster. A full-blown infestation is the medieval equivalent of a stock market crash, a sure sign that the coming winter will be one of starvation and misery. They can gnaw through thick wooden barrels and heavy burlap sacks with ease, destroying in a single night what it took a farmer a whole season to grow. Your work is not just pest control. It is a form of economic security for a city that is always just one bad harvest away from collapse. But you know they are more than just thieves. They are moving vessels of disease. You have seen what follows a surge in their population: the fevers, the swellings, the black spots under the skin, the plague. The priests may blame sin, and the physicians may blame bad air, but you see the grim connection in the filth. The rats are the grey, furry ships, and the fleas in their fur are the invading soldiers, carrying an invisible and undefeated enemy. You are fighting a war on two fronts, one against hunger and one against a pestilence so terrifying Most people dare not even speak its name. Your greatest tool is not made of wood or iron. It is made of muscle, teeth, and a furious, unwavering loyalty. It is your terrier. This is not a pampered lapdog that sleeps on a silk pillow. It is a four-legged killing machine with an advanced degree in vermin psychology. It was not bred for its looks, but for its gameness, a relentless, fearless drive to pursue its prey into the darkest, tightest spaces where you cannot follow. The dog is your partner, your scout, and your fiercest soldier. You have an understanding that goes beyond master and pet. It is a silent working bond forged in the filth and shadows of the city's forgotten corners. For spaces too narrow even for your dog, you employ another living tool, a ferret. Kept in a small leather pouch at your side, this long, slinking creature is a specialist in infiltration. You can release it at the mouth of a rat burrow, and its natural instinct will drive it deep inside, flushing the panicked occupants out into the open, where your terrier, or your club, is waiting. It is a strange but brutally effective three-member hunting party. The ferret flushes, the dog corners, and you finish the job. This synergy between your animal partners is a technique learned and perfected over years of nightly work. Your other tools are brutally simple. You carry a short, heavy club, its wood worn smooth and dark from years of use and grime. It isn't a finely balanced weapon. Its only technical specification is that it is heavy and hard, and its user manual has only one grim instruction. You also maintain a few crude traps, simple wooden cages with a pressure-activated trigger, or snares made of tough wire. These are less for a mass culling and more for the particularly clever old rats that have learned to be wary of dogs. Sometimes, a wealthy patron wants the rats caught alive for the grim sport of a rat-baiting pit. It is a grim catch and release program, where release means into a pit with several angry dogs. But your most important tool is the one you carry in your head. It is your knowledge of the city's secret geography. You know the weak points in a cellar wall, the drainage ditch that serves as a rat superhighway, and the exact time of night when the baker throws out his old burnt scraps. You don't navigate by street signs. You navigate by the unique aroma of opportunity and decay. This knowledge, learned over a lifetime of walking the shadows, is what truly keeps you alive. It allows you to anticipate, to corner, and ultimately, to survive your deadly profession. The hunt begins where the day's refuse is most plentiful, the abandoned market square. The merchants are long gone, but they have left behind a buffet for your prey. Fallen vegetables, scraps from the butcher, and sacks of grain with tiny, telltale holes chewed in their corners. You unleash your terrier. He needs no command. He knows the work. He is not a pet on a walk. He is a specialist clocking in for his shift. He darts into the shadows, a blur of focused energy, his nose to the ground, reading the secret stories of the night that you cannot see. Suddenly, the dog freezes, its body tense, a low growl rumbling in its chest. You hear a frantic squeak from beneath a pile of discarded barrels. The dog lunges, blocking one escape route. You move to block the other, your club held ready. This is a highly coordinated two-being tactical maneuver, a silent dance perfected through hundreds of repetitions. The rat bolts, but it has nowhere to go. A swift, heavy thud from your club, and the brief struggle is over. There is no ceremony, no moment of reflection. You simply pick up the body by the tail and drop it into the rough burlap sack on your back. One down, many, many more to go. From the market, you move to the docks. The smell of fish, tar, and stagnant harbour water hangs heavy in the air. This is a different kind of hunting ground. The rats here are bold, fattened on spilled grain from foreign lands, and they use the massive coils of rope and the dark spaces beneath the wharf as their personal highways. Here, your ferret may come into play, sent into a narrow burrow to flush out your quarry into the waiting jaws of your dog. The work is treacherous. A single misstep on a slick, wet plank could send you into the cold, filthy water of the harbour, a place you know is more dangerous than any rat. And so the night goes, for hours that bleed into one another. Alley after alley, street after street. Some hunts are easy, others are frustrating chases through a maze of garbage and drains. The sack on your back grows heavier with each success, a grim weight that is both your burden and your paycheck. Your senses remain on high alert. Every rustle, every shadow that moves. You are not just walking through the city, you are reading its secret, nocturnal pulse, a pulse measured in the frantic heartbeats of your prey. Your focus must be absolute. A moment's distraction is a moment a rat escapes, a small failure in a night that must be filled with successes to earn your keep. As the first hint of grey appears in the eastern sky, you begin to make your way back. The night's work is almost done. You are covered in grime, your muscles ache, and the heavy sack digs into your shoulder. The sounds of the waking city, a distant rooster, the first baker stoking his oven, are your signal that it is time for your kingdom to disappear. You must be gone from the streets before the respectable world reclaims them, leaving behind nothing but a slightly smaller army of rats than when you began. More than the bite, more than the filth, there is another fear that walks with you every night. It is the living memory of the pestilence. You have seen it before. You have seen a bustling street fall silent in a matter of weeks, the doors marked with a grim red cross. The physicians, with their fancy robes, blame a miasma, a foul fog of bad air. It's like being told by a wellness influencer that your broken leg can be fixed with positive affirmations. But you, working on the front lines, have a more practical and far more terrifying theory. The moment after you strike a rat is the most dangerous part of your job. As the rat's body cools on the cobblestones, its passengers prepare to abandon ship. Tiny black fleas, nearly invisible in the gloom, begin to leap from its fur, seeking a new, warm host. That host is you. The rat, you understand, is just the delivery vehicle. The flea is the dangerous payload. You learn to handle the bodies with care, to brush yourself down obsessively after each kill, knowing that your survival is ultimately a matter of luck, not skill. This constant, invisible threat takes its own toll on your mind. Every random itch on your arm, every morning you wake feeling slightly unwell, is met with a spike of cold, internal terror. Is this it? You don't have a medical website to frantically search for symptoms on, which is probably a blessing. But you do have the vivid memory of the death carts. It's a high-stakes wellness check you perform every morning, where the stakes are slightly higher than deciding whether to drink a green smoothie. Your workday ends not at a desk, but at the back door of the town reeve's office. You empty your heavy burlap sack of its grim contents, and the rat tails are counted one by one onto a wooden board. This is your version of submitting an invoice, and the proof of your labor is a pile of rodent appendages. You are handed a few coins, the metal cool against your grimy palm. There is no praise, no thank you for your service, not even a look of gratitude. It is a cold, necessary transaction. You are a tool being paid for a task completed, and now you are expected to disappear back into the shadows you came from. As you walk back to your small hovel on the edge of town, The city is beginning to wake. The smell of baking bread from the baker's oven replaces the stench of the alleys. And here lies the paradox of your life. The baker, whose flour you protected from contamination, will hold his breath as you pass. The wealthy merchant who paid you will complain to his wife about the foul characters one must employ. You are the city's grim, walking immune system, an essential function that everyone finds disgusting to think about. You are the guardian of their health and their wealth, and in return, you receive only their contempt and their coin. You have no real status, no thanks, and few friends outside of your own dangerous trade. But as you bar your own door against the rising sun to finally find your own rest, there is a strange, quiet pride in the exhaustion that fills your bones. You have faced the filth, stared down the invisible killer, and survived another night. You have waged a necessary war that no one else was willing to fight. You are the unseen protector of a city that fears you almost as much as it needs you. And in the silent world of sleep, that knowledge is perhaps enough. You are not a unique phenomenon. In a city this large and this plagued, there is always more work than one person can handle. There are others like you. Sometimes you see them across a wide, moonlit square. Another solitary figure with a small dog and a heavy sack. A grim mirror image of yourself. You do not wave or call out. An unspoken rule of the night is to keep your distance. You are not colleagues. You are rivals, competing for the same meager bounties offered by the same terrified merchants. There is an unwritten map of territory in this city. Certain alleys, certain wealthy neighborhoods belong to certain catchers. To hunt on another's ground is a grave offense, an invitation to a violent confrontation in the dark. This isn't a corporate turf war fought in a boardroom. It's a silent, tense negotiation over who gets to control the most rodent-infested real estate. The docks, however, are open territory, a free-for-all where multiple catchers might work the same area, a tense dance of avoidance and quiet competition to see who can fill their sack faster. And yet, despite the rivalry, there is a strange, grim camaraderie. When you pass another catcher in the night, there might be a silent, almost imperceptible nod. It is a shared acknowledgement of your strange existence. No one else understands the unique combination of fear, filth, and pride that defines your life. They are the only other people in the world who know the specific heft of a full sack of rats, or the cold dread of a flea landing on their neck. You are competitors, yes, but you are also brothers in the same lonely, despised, and absolutely essential war. One evening, there is a sharp, impatient knock on the door of your hovel. It is not a neighbor. It is a castle guard, his face a mask of disgust at having to venture into your part of town. He does not ask, he commands. You are to come to the castle at once. The summons is unusual. You are typically hired by merchants or the town reeve, not by the nobility directly. This is a high-stakes call-up, as you follow the guard through the clean, well-lit main courtyards of the castle. The contrast with your own dark, filthy world is a physical blow. You feel the eyes of other, better-dressed servants on you, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and contempt. You are not brought to the kitchens, but to a small antechamber outside the Lord's private quarters. The steward meets you there. He does not look at you, but at a spot on the wall just over your head. He explains in low, embarrassed tones that there is a situation. A rat has been seen in the Lady Solar, her private sitting room. The problem is not the rat itself, but the embarrassment it represents. Discretion is paramount. No one must know. You are to solve the problem, silently and immediately. The implication is clear. Failure is not an option. You are led into the solar. The sensory overload is staggering. The air, instead of smelling of refuse, is filled with the scent of beeswax and dried lavender. Thick, colourful tapestries cover the stone walls, keeping the room warm. The floor is covered with a fine woven rug, not dirt and straw. You have never stood in such a place. It is a world of impossible softness and cleanliness. And somewhere in this paradise of comfort and wealth, a creature from your world has trespassed. You feel like a ghost, a filthy smudge of reality in a pristine dream. The hunt here is completely different. You cannot use your club for fear of damaging the fine furniture. Your dog, though essential, must be kept on a short leash, its claws a constant threat to the polished floorboards. You must work in near silence, listening for the faintest scratch behind the embroidered wall hangings. It is a slow, nerve-wracking process, performed under the silent, scrutinizing gaze of the lady's personal maid, who watches you as if you are more of a pest than the rat itself. This is not a hunt for survival. It is a delicate, high-stakes surgical operation, where a single mistake could cost you more than just a few coins. One night, near the end of your shift, as the sky just begins to soften to grey, you are making your final rounds behind the main street. You pass the back of the baker's shop, a place you know well. It was here, just a few weeks ago, that you dealt with a particularly nasty infestation that had been ruining his flour sacks. You expect nothing, as usual. Your work is meant to be forgotten. But tonight, something is different. Sitting on a clean, dry stone ledge by the baker's back door is a small bundle wrapped in clean cloth. You stop. Your dog whines softly, sensing your hesitation. This is unusual. Nothing is ever left for you. Your first instinct is suspicion. Is it a trap? A cruel joke? You look around the empty alley, listening to the silence. There is no one. Cautiously, you approach and touch the bundle. It is warm. With your dirty, gloved fingers, you gently unfold the corners of the cloth. The scent hits you first, a warm, glorious, yeasty aroma that feels like a forgotten dream. Inside the cloth is a small loaf of bread. It's not the dark, hard bread of the servant's table. It is a fine, white loaf, the kind intended for the wealthy. It is still warm from the oven. There is no note, no message. There is only the silent offering itself. It is a thank you, a secret acknowledgement of the work you did, given in a way that no one else will ever see. In that moment, the weight of your sack of dead rats feels a little lighter. The chill in your bones feels a little less deep. This single anonymous act of kindness does not change your life. It does not erase your low status or wash the grime from your hands. You will still be shunned at the market tomorrow. But it changes the night. It is a flicker of warmth in a world of cold contempt, a quiet reminder of a shared humanity you thought had been completely forgotten. You carefully wrap the bread again, tuck it safely away, and walk home with a secret treasure that is worth far more than the few pennies you earned. Your work is not static. It is a living thing, shaped by the turning of the year. In the hot, oppressive months of summer, the city becomes a sweltering oven. The stench of refuse in the alleys intensifies, becoming a thick, almost visible haze. In this heat, your unseen enemies flourish. The rats breed with an explosive, frantic energy, their numbers swelling into a true army. The warmth also emboldens the fleas they carry, making the risk of pestilence a heavy, humid blanket that covers the entire city. The summer nights offer little relief, the stone walls of the buildings radiating the day's heat back into the dark alleys where you work. The hunt in summer is a war of attrition. The rats are everywhere, a constant chittering presence. Your nights are filled with endless work, your sack filling quickly, but you know you are only managing the tide, not stopping it. Your work is more necessary than ever, as the overflowing rat population threatens to consume the city's food stores entirely. You move through the sweltering darkness, sweat stinging your eyes, the air thick and hard to breathe. The exhaustion of summer is different from winter's. It is a heavy, draining weariness, a fight against a thriving, swarming enemy. Then comes winter. The bitter cold is a welcome ally in some ways, thinning the herd and slowing the breeding cycle. But it brings new challenges. The remaining rats, desperate for warmth and food, become bolder and more aggressive. They are no longer content with the alleys. They now try to force their way inside homes, into the kitchens, into the cellars. Your hunt becomes more targeted, more like an infiltration, as you are called upon to clear specific dwellings. The rats you corner now are not just thieves. They are desperate home invaders, and they will often fight back viciously against your dog. And the cold is your own enemy as well. Working for hours in the freezing, silent darkness of a winter night takes a different kind of toll. The damp seeps into your bones. Your fingers grow numb inside your gloves, making it hard to grip your club or handle a trap. You move through snow-choked alleys, your breath frosting in the air. The desire to simply find a warm corner and rest is immense. Each season brings its own unique hardship, its own particular flavor of misery. Your work never ends. It only changes its shape with the turning of the earth. The few pennies you earn from the town reeve are enough to keep you from starving, but not enough to live. To truly survive, to have any hope of putting aside a single coin for a future that isn't this, you must engage in the secondary economy of your trade. This isn't a stock market. It's a black market, a world of quiet, desperate transactions conducted in the shadows where your official work ends. Your primary asset is the rat itself. The tail is for the town, but the rest of the creature, to the right buyer, has its own grim value. Your first side hustle is in the fur trade. You are not dealing in fine ermine or fox. Your specialty is urban vermin chic. After a night's hunt, you spend the early morning hours skinning the freshest of your catch. It is a meticulous, bloody job. The tiny pelts are then salted and dried. They are worthless individually, but in a large bundle, they can be sold to the poorest of tailors or leather workers. They might be stitched together to form a cheap lining for a winter cloak, or to make thin, unreliable gloves for a beggar. It is a grim commodity, but it is a commodity nonetheless, and it earns you another precious coin. Your other product is knowledge. You are an expert in the habits of pests, and this makes you a rudimentary chemist. You learn to mix your own ratbane. You take scraps of bread or meat and mix them with shavings of arsenic or other poisons, purchased quietly from an apothecary who asks no questions. You sell these small, deadly morsels to homeowners or merchants desperate to handle their own infestations. You are not just a hunter. You are an arms dealer in a war against filth, selling poison to people who would not dare touch it themselves. Each sale is a risk, but a necessary one in the quiet, desperate economics of your world. On Sundays, you go to church. It is the one place where all are supposedly equal in the eyes of God, yet you have never felt your low status more acutely. You do not sit with the merchants or the other artisans. You stand at the very back, near the heavy wooden door, as if ready to flee. This is not out of disrespect, but out of a kind of courtesy, a self-imposed quarantine of piety. You are careful not to brush up against the clean cloaks of your neighbors. The air inside is thick with incense and the scent of melting beeswax. a holy aroma that feels like a direct rebuke to the stench of your own profession. The parish priest knows who you are. When he speaks of the plague sent by God to punish the sinful, you feel the eyes of the congregation drift towards you, the man who lives among the carriers of that very plague. The priest is not a cruel man. He is a man of his time. He might offer you a strained but polite nod after the service, a small acknowledgement of your existence. But there is always a distance. In his eyes, you are perpetually unclean, your soul stained by the filth you work in. He preaches of washing away sin, while your entire life is a battle against a more tangible kind of filth. You are a necessary evil, a grim function of a fallen world. And yet, in the quiet darkness of the church, you find a strange sort of peace. You listen to the Latin chants, a language you do not understand but whose rhythm is a comfort. You look at the stained glass windows, depicting saints battling demons and dragons. You see yourself in those stories. You do not fight mythical beasts. You fight a small furred demon that brings famine and death. You wonder if God sees the difference. In your own mind, your work is not a sin. It is a penance. It is a necessary, thankless war fought in the dark to protect the light. And you pray that in the final accounting, that will be enough. The weight of the coins in your pouch feels different tonight. It is not just the usual payment for a night's bloody work. There is a little extra, the proceeds from a carefully sold bundle of pelts. It is a rare surplus. Instead of heading directly to your cold hovel, a powerful and deeply human urge pulls you towards the warm, yellow light spilling from the doorway of the Salty Dog Tavern. The sound of a badly played fiddle and a burst of rough laughter tumbles out into the night. For a moment, you want to feel like a normal man, to exchange your coins not for bread, but for a moment of warmth and company. You hesitate at the door, a moment of self-assessment. The stench of your work clings to you, a perfume of death and decay. Your clothes are stiff with grime. You are an unwelcome spectre at this feast of life. But the pull of the warmth is stronger than your self-awareness. You push open the heavy oak door. The wave of heat, the smell of roasted meat, stale ale and damp wool, hits you like a physical blow. It is the scent of humanity, a world away from your own. For a brief second, nothing changes. Then, a man near the door sees you. He stops talking mid-sentence. His companion turns to see what has silenced him. Then another. The effect ripples through the small, crowded room, like a dropped stone in a pond. The laughter falters. The fiddle player misses a note, then trails off into silence. It is not a loud or dramatic reaction. It is a quiet, collective recoil. In the space of 3 heartbeats, the lively tavern has become a silent room of 30 people staring at the filthy creature that has just entered their sanctuary. You do not meet their gaze. You have learned long ago that this is a challenge they do not appreciate. Your eyes are fixed on the floor as you make your way to the bar, each step feeling heavy and loud in the sudden quiet. The tavern keeper, a large man with a weary face, gives you a look that is not quite hostile, but is certainly not welcoming. It is a look of grim resignation. You point to a dark, unoccupied corner of the room, a table shrouded in shadow, away from everyone else. You hold up a single coin. He understands. Your goal is not to socialize. It is to be tolerated. The tavern keeper brings your ale. He places the heavy pewter mug down on your table quickly, careful that his fingers do not brush against yours. He takes your coin without a word and retreats back to the relative safety of the bar. The transaction is performed with the quiet efficiency of a man handling something unclean. But the ale is real. It is dark, bitter, and blessedly cold. You take a long swallow, and for a moment, the simple, honest pleasure of it is enough to build a small wall around you, a temporary fortress against the silent judgment of the room. Slowly, hesitantly, the noise of the tavern returns. The fiddle player starts a new, more somber tune. The conversations resume, but they are quieter now, more subdued. The burst of life that filled the room when you entered has been replaced with a low, cautious murmur. No one looks towards your corner. It is as if you are a black hole in the room's social fabric, a void that conversations carefully bend around. You are present, but you are not participating. You are a ghost at the feast, and your very existence has chilled the air. And so you become an observer. From your shadowy corner, you watch the lives of others unfold. You see two merchants arguing quietly over the price of wool, their hands gesturing emphatically. You see a young blacksmith trying to catch the eye of a pretty serving girl who pretends not to notice. You see a group of old men, their faces etched with a lifetime of labor, playing a game with worn-out dice. Each of them has a place, a role, a connection to the people around them. You are a citizen of the same town, but you are not a citizen of their world. You take another slow sip of your ale. The bitterness is a familiar taste. You feel a familiar pang, not of hunger this time, but of a deep, profound loneliness. You wonder what it would be like to join their laughter, to share a story, to simply be another man in a tavern at the end of a long day. But the thought is a fantasy, as unrealistic as a rat sprouting wings. Your profession has drawn a permanent line between you and them. You are the man who walks in filth, the man who deals in death and decay, and no amount of coin can wash that stain away. The door to the tavern bangs open again, letting in a swirl of cold night air. A new figure stands silhouetted in the doorway. He is a soldier, or perhaps a mercenary, his face hard and scarred, his clothes a mix of worn leather and mismatched pieces of armor. He is a traveler, an outsider like you, but of a different, more dangerous sort. He does not know the unspoken social rules of this town. He scans the room, his eyes looking for an easy target or an empty seat. His gaze lands on your corner. He sees not an occupied table, but an empty one with a single, insignificant man sitting at it. He swaggers over, his movements full of a casual, menacing confidence. He slams a heavy hand on your table, making your mug jump. "What's that smell?" he slurs, his voice loud in the quieted room. He leans in, his face close to yours, his breath sour with cheap wine. "It's you, isn't it? You're the rat man." The entire tavern holds its breath, watching. This is a test, a public challenge to your right to simply exist in their space. You do not meet his eyes. You do not rise to the challenge. Anger is a luxury you cannot afford. Instead, you make yourself smaller. You lower your head in a gesture of deference. Then slowly, you push your own half-full mug of ale across the table towards him. An offering, a silent payment. You do not speak. Your actions say everything. This drink is yours. This table is yours. I am no threat to you. This is not a negotiation. It's a strategic retreat disguised as generosity. It is a masterclass in the social judo of the powerless, a skill you have perfected through a lifetime of such encounters. The mercenary stares at the mug, then at you. He seems confused for a moment, his aggression deflated by your complete lack of resistance. He lets out a short, brutish laugh, grabs the mug, and drains it in one long swallow. He slams it back on the table and then moves on, looking for more entertaining trouble elsewhere. The tension in the room breaks, The fiddle starts up again, a little shakily at first. The conversations resume. You have survived. You have paid a small price, a single mug of ale, to avoid a much larger one, a beating or worse. The moment has passed. The mercenary has found other distractions. The low murmur of conversation returns to the room, but the atmosphere is different now. The brief illusion of warmth you felt upon entering has been shattered. The encounter has reminded everyone, including you, of exactly who you are and where you belong. Your corner feels colder now, your solitude more profound. There is no more pleasure to be found in this place. You look at your empty mug, a testament to a price paid for a peace that was never truly yours to begin with. Silently, you stand and make your way back towards the door. This time, no one stops talking. They simply create a small, invisible path for you, a silent parting of the waters to allow the unclean thing to pass without contact. You push open the heavy door and step back out into the night. The cold air feels clean and honest compared to the thick, judgmental atmosphere of the tavern. The silence of the alley is more comforting than their muffled whispers. The rats do not judge you. They simply are what they are, just like you. You walk away from the yellow light of the tavern, your dog trotting silently at your heel, and retreat back into your own kingdom of shadows. The coins in your pouch feel a little lighter, and your heart a little heavier. You came seeking a moment of company, a brief taste of a normal life. Instead, you received a valuable and painful reminder. Your solitude is not just a circumstance, it is a shield, and it is the only one you truly have. Your nightly rounds sometimes take you past the castle kennels, a long stone building set away from the main keep. Even from a distance, it is a different world. The air here doesn't smell of rot, but of clean straw, healthy animals, and cooked meat. This is the home of the Lord's hounds, his prized hunting companions. These are not mangy strays. They are valuable assets, treated with more care and afforded more comfort than most of the humans who serve in this castle. Their barking is not the frantic yapping of a street cur, but the deep, confident baying of powerful, well-fed beasts. You peer through a crack in the wooden door. Inside, by the light of a lantern, you see them. They are magnificent animals, larger and stronger than any dog in the village, with sleek coats and bright, intelligent eyes. Each one rests on its own bed of thick, clean straw. You see the kennel master tossing them large chunks of meat and gristle from the Lord's table, the very scraps you might have dreamed of finding for yourself. Your own dog is a wiry, scarred partner in survival. These hounds are a symbol of power and leisure. They are bred for sport, not necessity, a luxury you can barely comprehend. The kennel master, a man of some status among the servants, emerges from the building. He sees you lingering in the shadows, and his face hardens into a mask of suspicion and disgust. He makes a shooing gesture with his hand, as if warding off a disease. "Get on with you," he snaps, his voice low and hostile. "Don't want your filth near my dogs." The message is unmistakable. In the rigid hierarchy of this castle, you, a human being, are considered a potential contaminant to the Lord's animals. Your presence is a threat to their well-being. You offer no argument, just a dip of your head before melting back into the darkness. The interaction, as brief and brutal as it was, reinforces a truth you already know. Status is everything. A dog with a noble pedigree is worth more than a man with a foul but necessary trade. You think of your own small terrier, asleep in your hovel, a creature whose courage and loyalty are worth more than all the gold in the castle, yet who is seen by the world as nothing more than a vermin killer just like you. The world has its order, and your place in it, you are reminded, is at the very bottom. Most rats are a faceless horde, a tide of vermin to be managed. But every so often, you encounter an individual, a rival. For weeks, you have been tracking a particularly large and clever rat in the cellars of a wealthy wool merchant. It is old, scarred, and has a cunning that borders on intelligent. It ignores simple baits. It seems to sense where you will place your traps, and it is too quick and wary for your dog. This is no longer just a job. It has become a personal duel, a silent battle of wits between you and this single exceptional adversary. You begin to study it. You spend hours in the damp, musty cellar, not hunting, but observing. You learn its preferred pathways, the routes it takes through the shadows. You note what scraps it eats and what it ignores. This is not brute force. It is the application of a deep, specialized knowledge. You are like a general studying the movements of an enemy army, mapping out its routines, predicting its behavior. You are no longer just a killer of rats. You are a scholar of their ways, and this particular rat is your most challenging text. Based on your observations, you decide a new approach is needed. You spend a morning not on your usual rounds, but in your hovel, crafting a new trap. It is a deadfall, but one of a finer construction than your usual crude devices. You use a smooth, heavy piece of slate for the weight, and a complex trigger mechanism involving a carved wooden spindle and a piece of string. This isn't just a trap. It's a carefully engineered machine, a testament to your craft. The bait is not a piece of stale cheese, but a small, fragrant piece of smoked fish you traded for at the docks, an irresistible luxury for your target. That night, you set your trap. The process is a quiet, deliberate ritual. You place it along the rat's favored path, behind a row of large barrels. You carefully set the trigger, your hands steady despite the cold. You place the bait, its rich smell a stark contrast to the musty air of the cellar. Then you leave. There is no waiting, no anxious vigil. The trap is a question, and you will not have your answer until the following night. It is an exercise in patience, a trust in your own skill and your understanding of your enemy. When you return the next night, lantern held high, the cellar is still. You approach the spot behind the barrels. The trap has been sprung. The heavy slate is flat against the stone floor. Beneath it lies your rival, the great rat, its reign over the merchant's cellar finally over. You feel a strange mixture of emotions. The grim satisfaction of a job well done, a flicker of respect for a worthy adversary, and the quiet, deep pride of a master craftsman whose perfect trap has worked exactly as designed. Your work rarely takes you into the cleaner residential alleys near the center of town. These are not your territories. But tonight, a nervous cloth merchant has paid a few extra pennies for you to handle a problem quietly. You find yourself in an unfamiliar world. The air here doesn't have the familiar, overpowering stench of the docks or the butcher's row. It smells faintly of hearth smoke and damp, clean stone. The alley is narrow, but it is not choked with refuse. It is a place of unsettling order. You move cautiously, your dog staying close to your heel, its usual boisterous energy replaced with a quiet uncertainty. The backs of the houses here are well maintained. The shutters are closed neatly, not broken. The stoops are swept clean. There is no mountain of garbage to investigate, only a few small, tidy piles waiting for the morning collection. This cleanliness is alien to you. It makes you feel loud, large, and incredibly dirty. You are a creature of filth and chaos. and you have just walked into a museum of quiet domesticity. Every sound you make seems amplified in the stillness. The scrape of your boot on the cobblestones, the soft jingle of the traps in your sack, the low whine of your dog. You feel like an intruder, a walking stain on this pristine environment. Your usual confidence, the mastery you feel in your own dark kingdom, evaporates here. Here, you are not the sovereign of the shadows. You are just a dirty man in a clean alley, performing a service that the residents here would rather pretend they never ever need. As you cautiously check the base of a wall for holes, you get the distinct primal feeling of being watched. Your body tenses. It is usually the prelude to a thrown rock or a shouted insult. You slowly look up, your hand resting on the club at your belt. But it is not an angry homeowner or a drunken guard. On the stoop of a nearby house sits a small child, no more than 5 years old, playing quietly with a worn wooden toy soldier. He has stopped playing, and he is staring directly at you. You are accustomed to being looked at, but this is different. The stares you normally receive are a currency of contempt, quick, dismissive glances filled with disgust. This child's stare is something else entirely. It is pure, unfiltered curiosity. His head is tilted slightly, his eyes wide, taking in the sight of you, your strange clothes, your dirty bag, and your little dog. There is no judgment in his gaze, no fear, no disgust. It is the look of someone seeing something new and trying to understand it. This complete lack of hostility is so alien to you that it is, in its own way, deeply unsettling. Your first instinct is not to smile or offer a greeting. Your first instinct is caution. You are a creature of the dark, a pariah. A respectable child should not be looking at you. You quickly look away, back towards the wall, pretending to be intensely interested in a loose stone. You hope that if you ignore him, he will lose interest and go back to his toy. You have learned that the best way to navigate the world of normal people is to be as boring and uninteresting as possible, to give them no reason to keep looking at you. Your terrier corners a rat near the child's stoop, and with a swift, economical movement you have performed 1,000 times, the hunt is over. You drop the small body into your sack and brace yourself for the usual reaction. A scream, a shutter slamming closed, a parent running out to shield their child's eyes from the filth of your work. But none of that happens. There is only the quiet of the alley. And then, a small, clear voice cuts through the silence. The child points a small finger, not at the dead rat in your sack, but at your terrier, who is now panting proudly at your side, tail wagging. "What's his name?" the child asks. The question is so simple, so profoundly normal, that it stuns you. Your mind, so accustomed to navigating contempt and avoiding conflict, does not know how to process it. It is a question one person asks another, a question that assumes a shared world, a shared humanity. It is a question you have not been asked in years. You look at the child, truly look at him, for the first time. You see, he is not looking at a monster, or a pariah, or a symbol of the city's decay. He is looking at a man with a dog. That is all. The social walls you have built around yourself, the armor of silence and invisibility you wear every night, suddenly feels heavy and useless. You open your mouth to answer, but no sound comes out. The habit of silence is a deep and powerful one. The social chasm between his clean stoop and your dirty alley feels too wide to cross with a single word. Before you can find your voice to answer the child, the decision is taken from you. The door to the house creaks open, and the child's mother appears. Her face, for a split second, is soft as she looks for her son. Then her eyes find you. The softness vanishes, replaced by a mask of pure horror and revulsion. Her fear is not of the dead rat at your feet, but of you, the man covered in the grime of the city's secrets, standing just a few feet from her clean, innocent child. She doesn't shout. Her voice is a low, panicked hiss, which is somehow worse. Get inside, now. What did I tell you about talking to people like that? She rushes onto the stoop, grabs the boy by the arm, and hauls him back inside. She doesn't look at you again, but you hear her words clearly. They are for the child, but they are also for you. They are a powerful, brutal reminder of the invisible wall that separates your worlds. The heavy wooden door slams shut, and the sound of the bar sliding into place echoes in the now silent alley. The moment is broken. The brief, strange connection is gone, shattered by a mother's fear. You are a pariah once more, a creature of the night who has strayed too close to the sun. You look at the empty stoop, where the boy's small wooden toy still lies, forgotten in his haste. You pick up your sack, whistle for your dog, and walk away from the clean alley, back towards the familiar filth of your own territory. The brief, innocent question lingers in your mind, a tiny flicker of warmth now extinguished by the cold, hard reality of your life. The rhythm of your life is dictated by the health of the city, a grim and inverse relationship. When the city is healthy, your work is a low, steady hum of containment. But when sickness comes, that hum rises to a frantic roar. You don't learn of a new outbreak from an official decree or a town crier. You learn of it through the city's secret language, a dialect of fear and rumor. You hear it in the sudden increase in the price of bread, a sign of hoarding. You see it in the nervous sidelong glances between neighbors, and you hear it in the whispers. You are walking through the market one afternoon when you first hear the words spoken aloud. A woman, her face pale, is talking in a hushed, urgent tone to a stall owner. The word she uses is not plague. That is a word too terrible to say. A verbal demon you do not summon lightly. She calls it the sweating sickness or the fever. It's the medieval equivalent of saying someone has a bit of a cough when you know it's something much, much worse. But you, who live on the front lines of this war, know exactly what she means. Your first reaction is not fear for yourself. You live with that fear every day. It is a constant, dull companion. Your first reaction is a cold, grim sense of professional validation. You knew this was coming. You had seen the signs for weeks. A surge in the rat population, more dead animals in the gutters than usual. You had warned the reeve, but your words were dismissed as the usual ramblings of a filthy rat catcher. Now, the whispers in the market have proven you right. It brings no satisfaction, only a weary, hollow feeling in the pit of your stomach. Within a week, the whispers turn into a low, panicked hum that settles over the entire city. The streets become quieter, emptier. People hurry through their errands, their faces tight with fear, clutching bundles of strong-smelling herbs to their noses. The air, once filled with the smells of baking bread and livestock, now carries the sharp, medicinal scent of burning rosemary and juniper. A city-wide attempt to ward off the bad air they believe carries the sickness. And in this new atmosphere of terror, your status begins to change. The looks you receive are no longer just simple contempt. Now, the disgust is mixed with a new, potent ingredient: fear. People do not just see a filthy man. They see the man who walks willingly among the carriers of death. They see you as tainted, dangerous. But some look at you with a different expression entirely, a desperate, pleading hope. You are no longer just the rat man. You are the man who fights the source of the sickness. Suddenly, you are in high demand. Your business experiences a grim, sudden boom. Wealthy merchants who would have had you flogged for stepping on their shadow now send their servants to your hovel, begging for your services. The town council doubles the bounty for rat tails. The pay is better than it has ever been, but the risk has increased tenfold. You are now being paid to enter the very houses where the sickness has already taken root, to wage your war in the heart of the enemy's territory. It is a bitter and profound irony. You only gain a semblance of respect when everyone else is terrified of dying. Your value rises only as the city's health falls. You have more coin in your purse than ever before, but it feels heavy, each piece a token of another family's fear. You are, for the first time, a respected professional, but your field of expertise is death. And you know that this newfound status is temporary. It will last only as long as the plague does. The way people look at you has changed. The simple, dismissive contempt is gone, replaced by something far more complicated. Now, when you walk through the streets, people step aside. They give you a wide berth, not just out of disgust, but out of a new, fearful deference. You are no longer just the filthy rat man. You are the rat catcher, a title that now carries the weight of a city's terror. Their fear has, in a strange and unwelcome way, given you a new and terrible kind of status. This is not the respect you ever imagined. It is a heavy, suffocating blanket of fear. You have become a walking symbol of the plague itself. When people see you, they are reminded of their own mortality, of the fragility of their lives. They look at you and see the spectre of death. This newfound status does not bring you closer to them. It isolates you even more profoundly. You are now set apart not just by your filth, but by your grim and necessary purpose. Your work takes on a new, frantic intensity. It is no longer just a job for a few coins to buy bread. It feels now like a genuine battle, a holy crusade fought in the dark. Every rat you kill feels like a small victory against the invisible enemy that holds the city in its grip. The weight of your sack at the end of the night feels different. It is not just the weight of your pay. It is the weight of the lives you may have saved, a responsibility you never asked for, but now carry with you every waking moment. And so you toil on, a respected monster, a valued pariah. The very knowledge that has always made you an outcast, your intimacy with the city's filth and its vermin, is now the source of your grim importance. It is the most bitter irony of all. You have finally gained a measure of status, but the price was the city's terror. You are respected only because everyone is afraid, and you know, with a cold certainty, that as soon as the fear subsides, so too will their respect. The sickness that has gripped the city for months has finally begun to recede. The death carts make their rounds less frequently, and you see more faces in the market, their expressions still cautious, but no longer etched with raw terror. The city is breathing a collective, hesitant sigh of relief, and as the city's fear subsides, so too does your newfound terrible status. The fearful deference in people's eyes is once again replaced by the familiar, simple contempt. You are no longer a grim savior. You are just the rat man again. But a different kind of sickness has taken root in you. It is not a fever, but a deep, gnawing exhaustion that has settled into your bones. For months, you have worked without rest, fueled by a mixture of fear, adrenaline, and a heavy sense of responsibility. Now, with the immediate crisis over, that fuel is gone. All that remains is the bone-deep weariness of a soldier after a long and brutal war. Your body aches in ways it never has before. The simple act of lifting your sack feels like a monumental effort. And with the physical exhaustion comes a mental one. The fear of the plague, which you kept at bay through constant work, now rushes in to fill the silence. Every night, as you lie in your hovel, you find yourself replaying the horrors you witnessed. The houses marked with the Red Cross, the quiet grief of the survivors, the sheer, overwhelming scale of the death you fought against. You have no one to talk to about what you've seen. It is a trauma you must carry alone, a silent, internal plague that has no cure. The work continues, because the rats never truly leave. But the nature of the work has changed. The frantic urgency is gone. The generous bounties from the town council have dried up. Your pay returns to its usual meager state. The hunt is no longer a desperate battle for the city soul. It is once again just a job. A dirty, quiet trade performed in the shadows. After the high stakes of the plague months, this return to normalcy feels hollow, empty. The purpose that fueled you is gone, replaced only by the familiar grind. Now, the city is a map of ghosts. You walk down an alley, and you do not just see the refuse. You remember the death cart that was parked here. You pass a house and remember the red cross that was on its door. You are haunted not by spirits, but by the memory of the silence. The city has moved on, eager to forget, but you cannot. You were a witness to the city's deepest trauma, and the sights and sounds are now a part of your own internal landscape. The streets feel heavier now, weighted with the echoes of what they have endured. Even your relationship with your tools has changed. Your terrier, who was a fellow soldier in a great war, is now just a dog again, chasing vermin for a few pennies. The club in your hand, which felt like a weapon against a great evil, now just feels like a heavy, crude piece of wood used for a distasteful task. The pride you felt, the grim sense of importance, has evaporated with the city's fear. You are left with only the filth and the exhaustion, but without the terrible purpose that made it all seem bearable. You have survived. That is the one undeniable truth. But you find yourself asking a question you never dared ask before. For what? To return to being the despised man in the alley? To once again be an object of scorn and disgust? The sickness of the city has passed, but it has left a sickness in your spirit. It is the weary, hollow feeling of a man who has been to war and come home to a world that no longer understands where he has been or what he has seen. And so we leave the rat catcher to his hard-won rest, a solitary figure barring his door against the rising sun. His work for the night is done, his grim war is paused, and in the silence of his hovel, he too finds a kind of peace. His world was one of rustling in the walls, of the constant threat lurking just out of sight, of a life lived in the shadows. But your world, here and now, is different. It is a place of safety, of quiet, where the only sounds are the ones you choose to hear. So let the story of the rat catcher and his nightly hunt fade away now. Let go of the cobblestone streets and the dark alleys. Feel only the softness of your bed, the weight of your blanket, and the steady, easy rhythm of your own breathing. There is nothing more you need to do. There are no more stories to hear tonight. Only rest. Sleep now.